Hey everybody, how we all doing? We just how close dare I get to the Titan? Anyway, hello everybody, how we all doing? We have a Enchanter video. Yes, look at this. Oh! Yeah, Enchanters are amazing. They're really, really cool. So anyway, welcome to Live Taps and Backstabs. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about my three favourite classes in Pantheon, supposedly. The Rogue, the Necromancer, and the Dire Lord. But Chris, I hear you say, why are you sat here on an Enchanter today? Well, the, the Enchanter, Khalida here, is now level 37. She's just holding station a little bit. I've got an alt group after the mains have after the main group has all finished getting to level 50. We've got one last class in that main group who's got like 40% to go to level 50, which is awesome. And then we're going to kind of shift focus a little bit to the alt group. So she's holding station a little bit at the moment. I've been doing a little bit of play to try to get up to level 35 so that I could have this shield, which is a completely different conversation. Yeah, so now I am, let's just put the shield on, there we go. I've got to be very, very careful with this, because if I take that shield off, as you can see, it's warrior, cleric, paladin, and I'm never going to be able to wield it again. Yeah, it just looks awesome, and she looks utterly badass when she casts and it goes onto her back. Yeah, anyway, the Chanter's fantastic. I played with the main group that my rogue is in has a phenomenal enchanter. Mazrim, if you ever see him online, drop him a message and say how cool he is. He made the enchanter look so good that I had to start one. Basically, he was just basically invulnerable. You have so many tools, and you've got even more now as well. So back in like the level 20s and 30s, when I kind of got inspired to start an enchanter, Mazrim would be like running out, pulling in 4 mobs, stunning them all, mezzing them, debuffing them, lining them up, ready for the kind of the group to kill them, and then going off and getting more mobs to bring them back, and just like it just looked like such a fun class. And it's maintained that, to be honest. The Enchanter is so much fun to play, and recently they've had a few changes and a few more abilities that have come in. Some haven't quite got to the final form yet, which we'll talk about. But yeah, I just thought I'd do a video because a few of you have asked me to about the Enchanter and the state of the class. And the state of the class solo at the moment goes something like this. So it's a little bit silly, but it's a lot of fun because enchanters haven't had a lot of love for a while, and they recently had a few abilities added in, mainly this lovely little pet, which is fantastic, and takes the attention of a mob while you are able to do whatever you like to it. So dot, nuke, debuff, blah blah blah. And it's also nighttime as well, and I do have the ring of the lunar cycle, so my nukes are doing a little bit more as well, and I also have the Galdassi necklace on as well. So yeah, the Enchanter is a lot of fun. Anyway, enough of that. Right, so the Enchanter, we've got the Enchanter. Out of all the classes I play, the Enchanter probably has the most flexible and most moved around ability set that I think I've ever played. The Rogue has like a few abilities kind of swapping in and out. The Dire Lord has a few abilities that swap in and out depending on how much kind of fun I want to have at the time. There's definitely an efficient, in inverted commas, build for the Dire Lord. The Rogue as well, there's definitely an efficient build for the Rogue, but I kind of throw some things in and out. The Necromancer has a few little ability swaps and changes, but the Enchanter has so many options, and everything, like the internal balance of their spellbook is phenomenal. Like, you can make an argument if you just scroll down to the end, just kind of discounting illusions at the moment. Yeah, I mean, I've been running around as an Earth Elemental plenty of times. Anyway, discounting the illusions, you can make a case for every single one of these being on your bar at any at any particular time and circumstance. So you might have a group where you are like purely, and it's really important that you are crowd control central. So in that situation, you might drop your nuke off. You'd maybe leave your dot on because it's quite difficult to drop one damage, like all the damage spells. I mean, you can do if you like. But you could quite easily make a case to put. I think that one's a stun. Yeah, that one's a stun there, and then we've also got which one's that one? That's the wild display. Yeah, the amount of stuns you get. So we've got that stun there. We've also got Hush. So Hush is up here as well. There's Hush. So we've got four different ways to interrupt mobs now. Whatever they're doing things. You can also, that one's an AOE stun, so you can also drop that one off as well. That one is Stupefy. Yeah, that one's Stupefy. So you can grab the earlier stun as well, which is, where is it? Startle. There it is. So you've now got 4 different ways of interrupting and stopping a mob from doing things. Now they have sorted out chain stunning, so once you've stunned a mob, then it is immune to being stunned for about 5 seconds, something like that. So if you stun, you then have to hush. But of course, once they've been stunned and hushed, you can then spell steal as well, spell turn, so you can nick the spell as well. So you can pretty much, if it's important, you can completely lock a mob down, just completely stop it doing anything, which is hilarious. You can then debuff it as well. You do have the mez. You've got the pet up here, you've got the mana guzzle if you're running low on mana, and you can just take the mana off the mob. And then of course you have all the techniques, you've got all the buffs. There's so much you can do on the Enchanter. It's so much fun, honestly, so much fun. Right, so how have I been playing now? Like I say, you can make an argument to put so many of these on because of the way the stuns work now, in terms of not being able to stun and then stun again because it becomes immune to stun. You can sort of drop one of these off. So you tend to pick up this one is a 45-second cooldown. So this one's the Stupefy is probably the one that you want to go with first. And then if you do need a second stun in slightly longer fights, maybe, then you can do Startle as well. You can put Startle on there. But as soon as you drop that one off, then you open up like all sorts of different things. So you can drop on, let's just go down to the bottom. So you can drop on your slow as well. If you have a Necromancer in the group, then you won't need this because the Necromancer slow is better, so that means that you can drop this off as well, which is great. Again, that opens up another slot. If you don't have a Necromancer in the group, your slow is the best one in the game apart from the Necromancer, so that might be that. I would recommend trying to keep slow on your bar somehow. And then after that, Hush. Spell turn is so much fun. There was a time, and I'm kind of still in that camp, where I wish they would do more. It's such a unique and original idea in that rather than just interrupting or hushing or silencing a mob who's casting a spell, you actually just steal the spell and then cast it as well. So I would love them to take this further. Have a little bit of a longer kind of cast time to it. So at the moment you can see once you've stolen it, you can cast it again in the next 5 seconds. I'd love it if there was like another level of that where I could steal it and hold it for a little bit longer and cast it in 15 seconds. So for instance, if you're stealing it from one of the Crypt Fiends down in Halnir and you don't want to cast, if you're stealing a fire spell, you don't want to cast a fire spell back on the Crypt Fiends, but you could steal the fire spell and then cast it back on the next mob that's coming. I think that would be really, really cool and interesting. And yeah, I'm absolutely loving Spell Turn, and I think Spell Turn in of itself could be really fun if they expanded it and gave it some more options. I'm not entirely sure where you could go with it in terms of options. Like I say, some more. The easy one is just adding how long the cooldown is for it. So if you can, once you've stolen it, how long it is until you can cast it. So that's an easy one. Maybe you could steal Maybe you could steal the spell and some mana later on. Maybe you could make it so that you could sort of steal a, because it's only steals spells. Maybe you could have another one that stole combat abilities, and then once you cast it back, it cast it through the pet, so the pet came out and did like the knockback, so you could steal a knockback, or a slash or something, or a bleed. You could steal a bleed because that's a combat ability rather than a spell. Maybe you could steal a bleed, and then once you cast it back on the mob, then your pet would come out and apply the bleed, or a version of your pet would come out and apply the bleed to the mob. I think that might be quite good fun. And I was, like I say, there was a moment, there was a time where I was loving spell turn so much. I was kind of like, I don't want charm. I just want them to expand and explore the spell turn idea, and just do more with that. I thought that would be really, really cool. Yeah, so that's an interesting one. I always love trying to get the spell turn on there, mainly for the kind of the cool factor, and it's very, very fun when you're in places like the fort, and you get a Enchanter come out and you steal its mez and mez it with its own mez, which is just utterly hilarious and like a proper power play. Trying to mez me, I'm going to steal your mez and mez you back. So yeah, that's one that I always sort of try and get on my bar. It's more of a cool factor. If you are then if you're in a really oiled group and you've got stuns in a lot of places, like a Dire Lord will have a silence, or maybe there's a druid or a wizard in there as well who can also kind of stun and things, then you can drop off some of these. I would probably leave Hush on because it has that silence ability on it as well, and then you start being able to drop on things like your nuke and your dot. So the dot and the nukes, the fact that this is a 1.5 second cast, and it's a 1.2, I think 1.1, 1.2 with our spell haste, is so good. And there are kind of like conversations of, we can, like, enchanters can do so much DPS. However, you are giving up a lot of stuff to do it, so it has to be in the right situation. So in a situation where you don't need to mez or you don't need to stun, then you are now able to do something with your mana. And that is nuke and dot. So once you've done the debuffs, you can then nuke and dot and apply and do something within the group, which is great. So if you have got, for instance, if you're in a group with a monk and the monk's pulling, you tend to only get like 1, maybe 2 mobs. So in terms of that sense, for an enchanter, the mez doesn't really happen very often. I've got to keep looking over here because there's going to be a massive titan. I can see it happening live on YouTube, that I turn around and there's just a big titan here, and it comes and smacks me. So I've got to be a little bit careful where I'm standing. Yeah, so on those situations, in those particular groups, and this is one of the things that Pantheon is really, really good at, that the gameplay and the game style and the character, the way you play your character does change, and it can change and it should change depending upon the group that you're in. And I've said this on the rogue a lot. So if you are in a very kind of polished group, and there is a monk in there, and there is like a wizard or a druid to get some stuns as well, if you need the stuns, maybe you don't even need the stuns, then you can, there it is, moved just at the right time. Then you are able to kind of drop some of your abilities and put on the nukes and the dots and give and add to the group in that way, which is really, really good. So that's great. Now, the pet is phenomenal. It's not its final form. I hate the word nerf, so I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to say that it's not in its final form. It is currently in the game in a way that once you cast it, it charges against the mob and it steals aggro for 30 seconds. So, well, until it dies, which tends to be about 30 seconds, because the pet seems to have quite high avoidance, so it doesn't get hit very often. So it's a really, really good pet for tanking. So this Decide Shifter here, if you just cast your pet on it, so the pet runs out, you see these little swords here, at the next level they are axes. which I kind of wish it was the other way around. I kind of wish it was axes first and then it was swords at the higher end. And then it gains aggro for 30 seconds, and it's quite good that it's got the cooldown as well, so you know that the pet now has 10 seconds left, and then you can just kind of unload on the mob and nuke it. As you can see, the nighttime ring is great because it allows you, and this isn't even like the level 40 anarchy, this is just chaos. So it does allow the Enchanter to solo quite well. It does allow the Enchanter to do what the pet spell was intended to do, in terms of if you have a double pull or a triple pull in your group and one of the mobs is Iron Willed, sorry, two of the mobs are Iron Willed, so the tank can obviously tank one of the Iron Willed mobs in theory, if you have a good tank. Wink wink. So the tank can tank one of the Iron Willed mobs. I can mez the one that isn't Iron Willed, and then there's another Iron Willed mob just kind of running riot around the group. So the idea is that this pet can gain aggro on that Iron Willed mob and tank it out of the way for 30 seconds. Well, it's clearly intended to be 30 seconds because the cooldown is 30 seconds, and it seems to last 30 seconds depending on what level mobs you are trying to kill. It can just about cope with trench mobs, the Ash Breather's trenches. The level 40 pet definitely can cope with the Ash Breather's trench mobs. Now, the final form of this pet, Fjorsoa has said in the Discord, is that's its intention. It is intended to be an Iron Willed off-tank pet. So for those situations when an Iron Willed mob turns up. At the moment, what they haven't been able to code is that once I do damage to the mob, the pet stays there. The final form of the pet is that as you start doing damage to the mob, it has a chance to despawn. So it's not a off-tank burn the mob down, like being completely not being touched at all kind of thing. So it's not that kind of pet. So the final form is that as soon as you start doing any damage to the mob, it has a chance to despawn the pet. So obviously the idea is that once you've killed the Iron Willed one, you can then come back to the second Iron Willed one. As soon as the tank hits that mob, or as soon as the wizard hits the mob, then the pet will despawn, and then it will be on top of its aggro table kind of thing. So at the moment it doesn't do that. Now, one thing I would like to see them do is, and I mentioned this in the Discord as well, if they can separate out who is doing the damage, I think that would be really interesting. So if it's a group member that isn't the Enchanter that cast the pet, it's a higher chance for the pet to despawn when they do the damage. However, if it's the Enchanter doing the damage, it's a lesser chance of the pet despawning. So it does allow us to do things like this, like high risk, high reward. Because if I do too much damage, the pet's going to despawn, and the mob's going to come at me, and then I might have to like mez it or stun it, root it, lock it down, whatever, to then kind of deal with it in other ways. But it still allows the Enchanter to do things like that, but in a bit more of a risk-reward sort of things, along the same lines as Charm, because Charm is a similar kind of thing, right? So I charm a mob, and then throughout the length of its charm, it has a chance of breaking charm and then just coming and smacking the living out of me. So yeah, it's a similar kind of thing as that. So I think it would be quite interesting if you are able to separate out and have the code pick up who is doing the damage, and have the Enchanter's damage have less of a chance of despawning the pet. I think that would be quite cool. So even if it's like a 15% chance that when I do damage it despawns a pet, I think that would be fine and quite fun as well. Because then you've got to deal with you would still be able to would you still be able to deal with mobs like this? I think you would, because you could, and also you can still like delayed wound mez bomb them. Which is quite interesting. The delayed wound, that's actually one thing which is really, really frustrating. The delayed wound, it used to, if I go up here and put delayed wound on, it used to have the same cooldown as the length of the spell. So I really want them to bring that back. So after 10 seconds, the delayed wound goes off on the mob. So if I mez this mob, ding. If I mez this mob and then I put a delayed wound on it. Hang on, why is that? Oh, is that a range? Just make sure the Titan's not anywhere. So I've mezzed the mob there. If I then put delayed wound on it, the cooldown is 0, so I don't know when that's going to go off. It used to have a 10-second cooldown, so you would see this ticking down in the same way as the pet would. You would see it ticking down, and then you would know when it would break. So you can see the pet here is now counting down. It's a 30-second cooldown for a pet that lasts 30 seconds, which is perfect. So you know if this gets down to 3, 2, 1, you need to start recasting that pet. So I would really like the cooldown of delayed wound to go back to what it was, so that you had a visual on being able to know when it was going to go off. It was really useful because one of the things that we don't do it as much, but definitely in earlier levels, if you're just kind of soloing just to finish off a level, or if you're soloing just because, it was really useful to mez a mob, drop delayed wound on it, and then start mezzing the mob just as the delayed wound was about to kind of tick off. So it ticked and then it mezzed again. So it's just allowing that skill expression is a really important thing for me in games like this. So I think just putting that cooldown back on there would be really, really useful. So if you could do that VR, that would be great. So yeah, the other things I do want to talk about the techniques, because you mentioned I mentioned in my rogue video that I play with an enchanter in my group. If you have watched my rogue video, I'm doing a full feedback video for the rogue very, very soon, but the kind of current state of the game, state of the class rogue video that I've just done, I'm hitting backstabs for 1700 with 64 dexterity, something around there, and that's due to the enchanter, because the enchanter, if I just get rid of this and put vertigo back on, where's vertigo? There's vertigo. Vertigo applies expose. The enchanter has physical opening and magical opening, so they do invulnerable and weakened on their techniques, which is fantastic. I think they get the physical opening at level 33. It's something like that. So this puts the mob in a weakened state for 12 seconds. So for 12 seconds, any melee class is doing greatly increased damage against this mob, which is great. So depending on what sort of group makeup you are in, if you're in a group with 4 wizards, then put the magical opening on. But if you're in a group with 2 rogues and 2 monks, then put the physical opening on. This is like, you will become the group's best friend if you make use of these. They cost 2,000 readiness. If you can get one of your group members to add the expose on there, then you can do it. You can also do it yourself, so you can drop an expose on there yourself. I don't think the necromancer, when I was looking on the necromancer has a 1,000. Yeah, there we go, expose. So we can, if you want, you can go and drop this straight on the mob, because you start with 3,000 readiness. The exposed cost us 1,000 readiness, and then that cost 2,000 readiness. So I don't know when this change came in. I just noticed it on the necromancer the other day, so I don't know whether that was intended. But what you can do, and I will just show you this in practice, you can put this damage bonus on the mob really, really quickly as well. So if I cast a pet on this, pet going in, I will debuff it with the resistance one, and then I will go magical opening, ding, there's the magical opening, and now watch the damage going in. So 214 on that, 306, I need to get a crit here, otherwise it's not going to work. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, come on, one more. No, okay, but the magical opening then gives you bonus magic damage or bonus physical damage on that, and you can use your expose because it's a cheaper readiness thing. This is actually quite nice. If this was an intended change, I like this because this was one of the things that I didn't like about the techniques. Like the expose seemed kind of pointless. If everybody can do the expose and then follow it up with their own debuff, then what's the point of the expose? Just give us the debuff. Just allow us to put the debuff straight on. But if we are able to do the expose and the debuff with our full bar, and we don't have to wait for any regen, that's actually not too bad. So yeah, it just means that it applies in a second. So you put the expose on, and then 1 second cooldown, and then you can put the opening on. So yeah, these are really, really, really interesting. I think you get the magical opening quite early. It doesn't say on the casters when what levels skill you get it. Magical opening. No, it doesn't say what skill you get it, but I think you get the magical one in your 20s, and you get the physical one at 33. So it's quite early for the magical one. So yeah, you want to be grouping with wizards in the early levels, right? So yes. Anyway, that is everything. Obviously, there are a few extra things as well. We get the whisper. The whisper, as you start getting up higher levels, the whisper also gives you mana regen while you're standing as well. I personally hate the mana regen change. I hate being forced to sit down. I like being a really mobile caster, like standing up, finding spots, being mobile and moving around. And before, the mana regen was really, really good with that because it gave you standing mana regen. It just gave you flat mana regen, whereas now you only get the nice mana regen if you're sitting down. So I don't like that change. I like being maneuverable. I like being active as a caster. I know there are wizards there who I don't know whether this is what they do, but sit down, stand up, cast, sit back down again, stand up, cast, sit back down again. But as an enchanter, particularly as a necro as well, I like kind of being active and moving around. But you just don't get the mana regen doing it. As you can see here, I've got next to no mana regen, and I've got my whisper on, so I'm not actually getting any mana regen because I'm standing up, moving around, and talking to you all. The spell and attack speed is phenomenal. It's really, really good. Like I said, it takes your nuke down to 1.1 seconds. It takes your mez down to like 1.4. It's brilliant. The attack and spellcasting buff is fantastic. That's also now a group buff, so it applies to everybody. It used to, a few patches ago, only apply to one person, whereas now you can apply it to everybody, which is great. So it's a really nice group buff. And obviously your rune skin. Your rune skin is really, really important. It is over here because it's the one that never gets chained. This never leaves my bar, rune skin, because that drops every damaging attack that comes in. It absorbs 50% of that damage. So if I get hit for 600, it's absorbing 300 of that damage. Okay, I've only got 600 health, but like that, if that happens, then you do have that little bit of kind of like defensive ability to not like tank, but tank a couple of hits here and there, which is really important for when you're trying to mez something and maybe it resists, or the mez breaks and it comes running over to you, and it's going to put that one hit in while you're trying to remez. Just having that rune skin is phenomenal. It's fantastic. I love it. It's fantastic. And then there is also the other two buffs that we get. We get an intellect buff, which is finally we get a new version of it in the last patch. Where's it gone? Where has it gone actually? There it is, Recondite Mind. So now we get intellect by 3, so plus intellect by 3, and that's after our first one, which was plus intellect by 2, which is what all the other casters get. So I can now push my intellect just up a little bit further, and then there is also a charisma. No, it's not Lyris Calm. There it is, Lyris Grace. So we also get there we go, charisma buff as well, The charisma buff, it doesn't tend to get on my bar very often. Chaotic imbuement will always be on my bar. Chaotic imbuement, my main is a rogue, so I love chaotic imbuement, and I love the fact that I've got an enchanter in the group to cast chaotic imbuement on me. It only lasts 15 minutes, so it's also quite good. It's quite a good named timer. So just as you've killed a named, if you're an enchanter, if you cast chaotic imbuement on one of the melee classes, you've then got an automatic like little counter and stopwatch for when the named is going to respawn. He was looking at me then. Go away, Mr. Ancient Thorn Titan, please. Thank you very much. Do not stand and look at me. I can't take this. This is very, very, very red. Oh, God, he really doesn't like looking. What's he doing? Go away, Mr. Titan. So yeah, you've got an automatic little timer, which is really, really good for named spawns and things like that. I am running away from this Titan because he's scaring me. We have killed him. Our main group has killed him. He drops absolutely nothing. It's really disappointing. I want him to drop something really, really cool. But I do love the fact that these zones do have like wandering bear moths in them now as well. So yeah, there we go. I think that's everything. They're in a really, really good spot. I was a little bit worried that once Charm comes in, they're going to kind of rebalance and neuter some of our abilities, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think they're going to do it. I think once Charm comes in, we'll be in an even better spot. There has been kind of talk of every time you charm something, there's a chance that you can dire charm it, which is great. That means you just basically have it charmed until you die or you zone, which is phenomenal. So hopefully that's a small chance, because I do kind of like the risk versus reward of charm, so that you have to charm something and then there's always that slight chance that it's going to break and come and hit you, and then it's how you control that mob that's coming to hit you. Yeah, that'll be really interesting. I'm very, very much looking forward to that. The pet, I'm looking forward to seeing it in its final form. Like I say, it would be really nice if they could split that damage out, just so that the Enchanter has a little bit of something, a benefit over the other classes in the group. So you can just kind of throw, even if it's just throwing a dot on the mob, and it's not going to drop the pet out, something like that. Make sure you're making use of your physical and magical openings. Like I say, you can drop expose and the opening on for your 3000 readiness, which is fantastic. You should be able to easily get that back within the time of one fight, so it's ready for the next fight. Confusing blow, that's one thing I haven't spoken about. Confusing blow. I'd use that every single time you mez something, particularly if you've got like a slightly newer tank, or if you're in a pickup group or something. I mean, I use it in experienced groups as well, but once I've mezzed the mob, that mob I'm quite high on its aggro table now. So if you put confusing blow on it, if you just go and have a look, you can see what the spell effect is on it. It's like a little hexagons flying around its head. That just lessens its aggro, and you should be able to let's do that and this ding. You should be able to the tank should be able to get aggro pretty quickly after that. I've seen that happen, so that the mob will run straight at me. And let's do that and see if we can get a nice big crit. The mob will run straight at me, and then I hit confusing blow, and then it will just turn and go straight at the tank. So it does work, and it is very, very useful. So yeah, there we go. Right, thank you very much, everybody. Hopefully you've all enjoyed the video. I will be doing the next set of videos that I'm going to be doing are going to be feedback videos. So I'm going to go through all the abilities rather than just kind of talking about the state of the class and how much fun they are. Going to be going through all the abilities on all the classes that I play, and just giving Visionary Realms some feedback on some of the abilities, particularly the Rogue one, because the Rogue is pretty set in terms of what abilities sit on its bar. It doesn't really shift that much. The internal balance on the Rogue is not not that strong. The internal balance of abilities on the Enchanter is one of the best in the game, I think, in terms of you can make an argument for any of these abilities in your spell book being on the bar. Which is a really, really healthy place to be for the Enchanter, in my opinion. So yeah, I would love to know your thoughts on the Enchanter. If you do play an Enchanter, let me know what you think. Let me know how you're getting on, and what is your favourite group composition as well. And also, I'd love to know what everybody's Enchanter's favourite tank is, like. Because I group with a Dire Lord in the main group, who's really, really good. I've got a Paladin who's phenomenal in the second group, in the alt group that we're going to be building up. So it's going to be really interesting to see how those two compare in terms of snap aggro. I mean, obviously the Dire Lord is not quite as snap aggro as a Paladin might be, but it's going to be really interesting to kind of compare the two classes. Yeah, and if you do want to wield a shield, I'm really, really sorry. I love this. I think Visionary Realms really need more of these kind of like little outlier items. My Dire Lord, for instance, wears a rogue hat because it's got some intellect on it, and it makes him look like a rogue. It makes him look really, really cool. But having just like little outlier things like this, like so the story behind this is that this was Enchanter wieldable a few patches ago, and then it changed so that it is now only Warrior, Cleric, Paladin. However, because I had it equipped before the patch, it hasn't de-equipped it, and I'm now not touching it at all. I'm leaving that on, so I'm now the only Enchanter, probably the only Enchanter on the server with a shield, because it just looks great. Like, it's really, really nice to be able to have just like little outliers like this, little shields and little helmets, like the Beetle helmet in the Ash Breathers that makes you look like Magneto and is wieldable, wearable by anybody. I think that looks fantastic. Those kind of little things, like spears that are that you can wield as a caster, swords that you can wield. I mean, I really like that the Necromancer has a sword skill, so that I can have a sword, because I really want a Necromancer with a sword. I don't know. It's just cool. So more of these little outlier items, please. That would be great. So yeah, there we go, everybody. That is Khalida, my little Enchanter. She's reasonably buffed. She's reasonably got some reasonable gear around here. We do have the crit ring. We got the lunar cycle ring. We've got the Gown of the Hearth. We've got a few other little bits and bobs in here. I don't have a really, really nice hat. I have where is it? I have this hat, which I think is quite fun because it makes her look like my rogue with the mask on, and I've also got a charisma hat as well, which just makes me look like I'm homeless. So I tend to run around. Without a helmet on, and then I've also got the hammer, which is really, really funny with the shield, running around with a massive hammer and a shield. So yeah. Anyway, I'm just waffling now talking about gear, but hey, like Pantheon is a gear game as well. So right, thanks very much, everybody. Take care, and I'm going to go and get some leveling done. I've got a Necromancer I need to get to level 30. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care. Drop me a like and a subscribe. That would be fantastic, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.